Joining me now, Shimon Prokupets, CNN crime and justice producer, and Laura Coates, CNN legal analyst and former federal prosecutor. So, Shimon, under the Obama administration, we know the DOJ had concluded it would be difficult to bring charges. What's different now?
Well, I think this administration, for one, right? So that's quite obvious. They have a very different position about leaks. Though under the Obama administration, there were leak investigations and prosecutions for leaks. I think this administration, certainly this Department of Justice, is taking a different look at this. In terms of Julian Assange, there was always this concern that he somehow fell under the umbrella of the media. And it's clear, certainly in the last few weeks, that the current administration, the Department of Justice, and the U.S. government don't think that he any longer is protected by the First Amendment.
So what kind of charges could be filed?
Well, there could be an espionage charge. There could be a possession of stolen property. Remember, he he was part of the release of tons of information, of classified information that went overseas, that went into the hands of not only news organizations, but foreign countries that want to, so-called harm us. And then also they're arguing hurt national security. So that is one of the charges, certainly the espionage. I think also the other interesting thing would be whether or not they would bring maybe possession of some kind of stolen property type charges, because he was, in possession and handling documents that ultimately were stolen. And I also wonder if the whole Russia investigation and the DNC hacks and his release of the DNC hacks has played a role into the government's thinking. Certainly career prosecutors and FBI agents have been investigating him, have been wanting to bring charges against him, and this just may be their window, their opportunity to do so.
So, Laura, it doesn't sound like this is necessarily going to be an easy slam dunk case for the government. What kind of legal challenges could the prosecution face?
Well, you've got the First Amendment, which says that this is a matter of free press oftentimes. What would probably get over that hurdle now is what you're just talking about. First Amendment protects people who are recipients of information, who are distributing through the press means, and are actually journalists or the press. If he played an active role in directing the leak of the information or guiding the actual leak itself, it is less of a passive reactive role and much more of a proactive role that comes with criminal liability. The other issue you're going to have, of course, is that he's not in U.S. custody and not under the jurisdiction of the United States. And so this is really a political statement at this point until you actually have him under the jurisdiction of the United States. He is still somebody who could not be tried today as long as he remains in the Ecuadorian embassy in London.
Now, you talk about the nuance in WikiLeaks versus other news organizations, but if the DOJ does charge Assange, could that open the door for other news organizations like New York Times, who also published some of the information that was leaked, to be similarly charged?
Absolutely. It would open exposure a great deal, but only if those other organizations played an active role in the acquisition. It's not a matter of just saying, talk to me, tell me what you know. It's a matter of the allegations being that Assange somehow identified somebody and chose a path to actually get the information to be released. That's much more of an active role than somebody who's simply reporting the information. But this has been in the crosshairs of the Justice Department for at least 7 years at this point. What's not a matter of, what the timing is curious is that this comes several weeks after they released information about the CIA's ability to look at all other electronics and different devices. The timing of it is more than just Russia or the election or the DNC. It often has also got under the craw of the CIA for good reason. I think now you have this pivotal moment to say, this is an organization that may not be actively the press, but actually somebody who's using the cover of the media to progress espionage.
There's a bit of irony here. Remember, President Trump praised WikiLeaks on the campaign trail. Now, with this hardline language from CIA Director Pompeo, the Attorney General, Shimon, does this signal a shift in President Trump's attitude toward WikiLeaks?
Well, we don't know that. I mean, you know, I think the Department of Justice and certainly FBI agents and the investigators who've been looking at Julian Assange are trying to keep away from the politics of this. But it will be interesting to see what happens if they do bring charges, you know, if charges are actually filed and what Trump's position will be. Clearly having the CIA director come out last week and essentially saying that Assange is acting as an intelligence agent for foreign countries, I think those comments had to be vetted through the White House. They were vetted through the Department of Justice. So he knew that was coming, and perhaps maybe some folks have changed his mind on that. And so he gave the go-ahead for Pompeo to go ahead and say that.
All right, Shimon Prokupets and Laura Coates, our thanks to both of you. Happy Friday.